Hello and welcome to the Digital Digest, your weekly breakfast of insights, tips and tricks and general information that will help anyone trying to move things forward in this digital world of accounting. This show is brought to you both by Digital Disruptors and SB Digital, which are pushing the boundaries in this digital accounting space. I'm your host, Ryan Pearcy, and I'm lucky enough to be joined by Alan Martin from Vision Reach as we dive into the tips and tricks relating to Simpro. So on that, I guess let's crack on and introduce Alan to talk a little bit about what Simpro is and I guess where it fits in the market.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So for those that don't know us, we are Vision Reach, and we help businesses streamline their business processes. And part of that is going out to the market and understands what solution, a software solution could be right for them, and start piecing that together in like a jigsaw puzzle, if you like. And one big area that we are keen on is Simpro, if I'm honest. And the reason why, for those that don't know, Simpro gets the description of a job management system, but it's a bit more than that. It's a job management system, it's a project management system, it's a HR management system, looking after your engineers, licenses, qualifications, to name many. It's basically your hub for the business. So if you're in construction, trades, anything like that, that's their main verticals, and you want a system that pretty much does everything, then Simpro is your bag. So yes, it has the job title of a job management system, but it is a bit more than that, and there's various add-ons and things. If you ever look into Simpro or looking at Simpro, there's various add-ons as well that further enhances what it can do. So hopefully that's enough of an intro of what Simpro is about.
Yeah, I think so, Dan. I think it's in the construction sector, but not designed specifically for, I guess, for construction businesses. Those trades, those specific focuses is where it fits well. And yeah, job management definitely goes beyond that into kind of full project management. If you're looking at the ecosystem that sits around the likes of Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, etc., it sits towards the top end in the level of complexity and what it can do. And it's been around the UK for a long time now, and it's kind of built a big collection of clients and those that work with the product, as you say, to enhance it further, such as yourself, Adam. So what we're focusing on today is the tips what we can get the most out of the system. So if you are a Simpro user or you're in the trade area, this will be the perfect show to kind of listen in. How could utilising this system really benefit the business? So first thing I guess we should probably touch on, because I've touched about the ecosystem, is what it integrates into, and it has its, as you say, its own little ecosystem, its own little suite of tools that connect in. But it built itself around integrating into the likes of Xero, QuickBooks Online. From my experience, it's got very slightly better integration into Xero. But have you seen any other really good integrations you've seen, either downward from a finance perspective or upwards?
Yeah, to be honest, you've opened a can of worms here, Ryan, because one of the big advantages of Simpro, if you're a techie, is that it comes with a very good API. And for those that don't know what that is, that's a means of connecting two systems behind the scenes. So it's kind of seamlessly sharing information. And then what that has kind of spawned is lots and lots of add-ons and integrations that are available. Some of them within the core product of Simpro, some of them externally, and there's a big third-party supplier base, let's say, with partners that have done them. So yeah, I mean, you mentioned Xero, QuickBooks, they're the big ones, and I'd be really surprised if it didn't do them, if I'm honest. They're the big ones. Obviously help share the information with the accountants and those doing your bookkeeping. But there are various reporting tools. So I know the guys over at Simplementary have a reporting tool, a quite powerful BI tool. Simpro have their own BI tool within it as well. We also have the likes of Tugger, who are they're data warehousing, but you can really build some powerful reports out of there. And for those, I mentioned the API earlier, for those that aren't techies like some of us, then you do have simple tools. I know that there's a Zapier integration. I think SyncEasy is one that you can easily use to start joining things together. There's a whole suite of apps, and do you know what? You've put me on the spot now because there's so many that I can't even think about them.
Well, look, the main thing I'd say is that you've touched on vast areas, right? You've got downwards into finance, you've got upwards into reporting, and then you've got what I call, I guess, sideways into like expenses or payroll. So SyncEasy, I know, is a tool you can connect from Simpro, like the timesheet that you'll be collecting as your staff doing work, push that into a payroll system. And then you've got the likes of Ezi Bills, I believe, that you can collect your expenses in and push directly into Simpro. And I think we'll touch on specific nuances and how you can use different elements of these as we go through this chat. But one thing I think we should probably touch on, being in the trade area, is CIS, right? Because so many of these tools in this space don't handle CIS. And I know that Simpro does. It's got a built-in process for tracking and reporting on CIS. But it's not always the best way from a flow point of view, especially from a finance element, to handle CIS, because if you've ever used Xero, it's got an integration directly into HMRC. You can report on the CIS directly from Xero. You can't do that from Simpro. So depending on what your finance tool is, you may want to manage and report on the CIS inside Simpro, or you may want to push that into Xero to handle. And the brilliant I guess versatility that is demonstrated in Simpro that I've experienced is the fact you can pick and choose which is the one that you think is best. So if you're ever going down this route of working, bringing in Simpro, I'd always advise talking to someone that's got some finance knowledge, because they'll advise the best flows. Have you, when you're working, I guess, with some of your clients, do you look at, what should sit in which systems?
Yeah, the general consensus is that, and for the reasons that you've mentioned, do your CIS in Xero. If you're using Xero, without a doubt, do it in Xero because of the other benefits that you get. Doing your CIS in Simpro is great. It does it. And it's really good for reporting. I mentioned Simpro being that one hub for everything, hopefully, within your business. That includes your reporting. So from that point of view, it's very good to do your CIS in Simpro. However, you do lose all the other benefits. So the general consensus is, I totally agree with you, Ryan, do it in Xero, and that's always been our recommendation.
Yeah. And then look, if you're tracking anything from a CIS point of view, you're obviously dealing with invoices. So you're dealing with your self-contractor invoices you bring in, but you're dealing with anything that is cost of sale related, because you're talking about, you're doing your reporting, you're managing your operations, you need to get your costs in. So what I call expense flow, expense management, is something that's critical when working with a solution like Simpro. You need to get anything that is down to your gross profit level, so any cost of sales, into your Simpro system. And anything that's not, anything that's overhead related, you need to push into your finance system. So you need a tool that would integrate, that will handle that split, I guess, that would collect the information from your supplier, extract it, and push it into your finance system. And from my experience, and you may have different opinion to me on this, Anna, but we've found that Ezi Bills is a really good tool for this, because it has that ability to kind of slice data in two different ways and push it into two different systems. Is that a system that you tend to work with, or do you work with others in the space?
Not overly. I mean, we tend to be operational, and we leave the accountant stuff to the accountants. If I'm totally honest,
Fair enough.
I think the accountant world has enough problems for us to take that on, as well as the operational issues. But I have heard of that, and absolutely. I mean, Simpro, again, is very powerful. You can slice and dice. I mentioned, they've got their BI tools, but there's a reason why all these other ones exist, because it doesn't do it to the nth degree that particularly everybody will want to do it. So those, absolutely, Easy Bills, whether you mentioned some of the other tools that I mentioned earlier, using some of them, will help you to get that finite kind of answers out, if you like, that you may not be able to get.
Yeah, and I always looked at when you bring in a suite, a modern ERP, or these little systems that connect via secure APIs. You're always looking at where can I gain efficiencies, where can I just do something once and then let the tool take over. And expense management is a great opportunity for that. But as soon as you start bringing the complexity of having data in two different areas, be that finance and be that the operational system, such as Simpro, expense management becomes a challenge. And so what I've loved about Simpro is you do have an option. You don't have to just kind of manually type something in or convert it and then work out what you're going to do with the digital copy of the invoice. You can use a tool like EasyBills or Easy Bills, I never say it right, to push it into the right system. So that's one flow. But I know something that's critical, and we were discussing this earlier, is getting the system set up correctly from the start and slicing that data. And I think you mentioned cost centers being one that you always focus on.
Yeah, so this is big for me, because for me, cost centers, and I hope any implementation consultant, Simpro, will say the same. This is the one thing that underpins absolutely everything. As you said, it's very key on reporting and be able to slice and dice. But the importance of cost centers, and a lot of people think of this as a kind of like a job category, when actually it's not. It's not just your job category. I'm doing some plumbing or I'm doing some electrical work. It doesn't work. It's not like that. Think of your cost centers as your nominal codes in your accountancy world as well. And the reason why you think of it like that is because the importance of them two aligning is that everybody starts speaking the same language. Those in the account space, those in the operational space, they start talking the same language, which is extremely powerful when that starts to happen. And this is one of the huge benefits of Simpro, because it takes away the kind of the financial talk, but still enables both parties to talk and make sense. So because your cost centers and your nominal codes are exactly the same, or should be exactly the same between the two systems and between the two worlds, if you like, the financial world and the operational world, you get this simplified communication, simplified reporting, and as I said, I keep banging on. I always bang on about communication. You start speaking the same language, which is extremely important.
Yeah, and I think that it's a beautiful thing that you've kind of explained here, is that you can put something in Simpro in terms of how the operational team understand it. And then from the finance team that has, all those specific nominals, those things that, baffle the hell out of most people that are in a business, you just connect them, i.e. kind of link them up in the back end settings of Simpro. And then essentially the data is just flying between both systems with both parties understanding them. And I think that's a really good way of describing that connection. And I think that, as you say, this leads really well into the reporting elements and how you can kind of get the granularity out of Simpro. So, Anna, could you dive a bit into that? Because I know that's a big focus point for you.
Yeah, well, first, if you don't mind, Ryan, I'm going to kind of go backwards a step before we delve into the big area of reporting, and really say that it is important for everyone to understand how to use Simpro, even your accountant, whether they be in-house or external. It's really important that they understand how to use Simpro as well as the operational guys, because again, it aligns that communication. Everybody knows what they're talking about. If you're using or have awareness of how to use the same system, it certainly helps. But the reason why I say use for even the accountants to be able to use Simpro is because there's huge benefit in doing your reporting in Simpro. Typically what happens, and I'm sure you'll vouch for this, Ryan, that you wait 30, 60 days for your management accountants to come through, and then you go, well, no, where's that money gone? Where's my profit gone? I thought we made profit on that. By then it's too late. It's 30, 60 days down the line, and it's too late. Where using Simpro for the reporting, and the accountant or your internal team being able to understand those reports and see them, they get to see those figures live. So they can dive in at any point rather than waiting those 30 days before it's too late. You can understand, if you get to grips with the reporting, you'll be able to understand those numbers. You'll be able to see where your profit is disappearing on a project, particularly large projects, and take action before it becomes a problem, or you decide that, oh, we're 2 months down the line, I've got my management accounts, or a month hopefully, and now need to take on another job and make up that profit. You're on the back foot already. So the live nature of the reporting, and I can't emphasize this enough, because this we always do with every client of that we put Simpro in, that this is so important. And if there's one thing that you need to understand in Simpro is the reporting. And that's the real for me, the real crux of the reporting. But also we've got I might touch upon some of the reports in a moment, but
please do.
One of the advantages of using Simpro for the reporting is the scheduled reports. I'm sure we're used to this through other financial reports, but you can get that deep dive live analysis to your inbox, and because it can go to an email address, that can actually be to your accountant's mailbox if you really want. So again, it's put under their nose. They can have a quick review and then alert you to any potential problems that you're not seeing yourself, again, before it's a problem. But touching upon some of the reports, within Simpro, you've got your work in progress report, which is extremely powerful. But one of the big ones that I always go on about, I sound like I talk about everything, is the price discrepancy report. This has been, I think, if there's one report that everyone should be looking at, other than your management account equivalent, is the price discrepancy report. Now, what this report basically does, it's very simple when you describe it. It looks at your purchases, looks at what your supplier invoice says, and then tells you where you are overcharged on a product level. You are overcharged this amount of times on here, which has been extremely powerful, because we've had clients that have then gone to their suppliers and go, what's gone on here? Why have I been overcharged? Because, there's someone just in the back office processing the invoice.
Yeah.
And then looking back, they've managed to go to the supplier and either negotiate discounts to claw back, or actually in some instances have actually got that money back as a refund or credit from the suppliers, just to keep that relationship. Could you imagine going to your supplier? They're going to want to keep you if you're telling them that you've been overcharged. So for me, the price discrepancies report can do so much for you. I think I'll stop waffling on there. I think reporting is a big thing in Simpro. I mean, there are, I'd say, hundreds of reports within Simpro, and my advice would be dive into them, because we could do this whole thing on reporting in Simpro and still not be done, and we'd have to do a few more sessions. But absolutely, reporting is. We spoke at the beginning about what Simpro is. This is one of the big areas of Simpro, and this is what really sets it apart. The reports are so powerful, and there's even reports in there you never even thought of, like the price discrepancy report.
Yeah, and as you said, I think right near the start, Alan, like, even if you haven't got a report inside Simpro, you've got the BI tool that connects into, plus you've got Simplementary and Tugger. There'll be a way you can, if the data's in there, there'll be a way you can report on it. So as you said, get the cost center set up so you can slice the data in the correct way so you can then report on it. And you're doing that in real time as well as looking historically. And that's what makes a difference, right? The whole point of moving into the cloud is to get it in real time. A couple of other small things I wanted to touch on. Well, I guess we can define if they're small or not. But one is, if you are an accountant, there is an accountant login. So that's a user account that's not charged. So the client is not being charged for that. It is a read only, but it does encourage you to go in, as Alan said, and look at the data and understand it on behalf of your client. And then the bit that is probably, unfortunately, the weakest area of Simpro is their onboarding process. The system is complex. There's a lot that needs to be done, and they're trying to encourage you to do a lot of it yourself so you understand it going forward. But it does mean that I know from businesses that have gone through it, they sometimes feel that they're not fully understanding or not fully getting to grips with the system. So if you are you do want some additional help beyond what Simpro can offer, please do reach out. There are consultants that can help you on that. And I think really then the other thing we have to touch on, we have to mention, is that Simpro is one of many systems in this space. It's one that Alan and I do work with a lot. We think it's really good, but it's not the only choice. We've done a separate show talking about comparisons in the trade sector. Please do check that out so you understand what's in the space. But in essence, that if you are in the trades, you are in the construction area, and you're trying to move to the cloud, Simpro is a great one. You should be looking at it at least as a consideration, especially if you're of a certain size. But always benchmark, always compare. And I think that's probably a great place to wrap up this week's show. I know we've covered a lot, especially on reporting, and hopefully this episode has provided you valuable insights that you can take forward if you're thinking about looking at Simpro. Please do check out the show notes for links to the Digital Disruptors, SB Digital, Vision Reach, and anyone and anything that we have referenced in this show. If you want to ensure you catch future episodes, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and look out for the release every Thursday morning. We look forward to speaking to you next week.